What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today, we're going to continue looking at the 2021 MLB season as this video looks at the NL East as we recap it. So without further ado, we'll start by discussing the Atlanta Braves, who won this division with an 88-73 record. Now, they didn't have to play the 162nd game because they were seeded in as a 3 seed, so it didn't matter. All said and done. So let me just say, I think we all thought that Atlanta was going to win the NL East entering the season. But the second Ronald Acuna Jr. went down with an ACL tear, I thought they were done, and I'm sure many other people thought they were done. At that time, Philadelphia was surging, and New York was still hanging on to a top spot in the division. Alas, this didn't happen, and Atlanta managed to not only hold on, but win this division in a convincing fashion as well. I have to give credit where credit is due. Atlanta rallied despite losing Acuna to a torn ACL, Marcell Ozuna to a domestic violence incident, and Mike Soroka, who didn't even play this year due to a few setbacks with his Achilles injury that he suffered last year. Really surprising, this team rallied despite all those injuries. Now, Atlanta managed to outpitch an elite Milwaukee pitching staff, and they took care of their biggest enemy in recent years with the Dodgers before knocking down Houston in the World Series. Very impressive year for them. I wasn't expecting them to win the World Series. I wasn't expecting them to make the World Series. I wasn't expecting them to make the NLCS. So really, great season all said and done. Amazing season all said and done. Now, Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, and Jock Peterson, all of whom are outfielders, came up big when they needed to. And there were all acquisitions made in July. So, really crucial moves for the Atlanta. Austin Riley had his breakout season in 2021. He proved that what we saw for a month in 2019 was his potential, and not him playing way over his head. Then we have other players, of course. Dansby Swanson, Freddie Freeman, and Ozzie Albies all had strong seasons as well, giving Atlanta the unquestioned best infield in the sport of baseball. All of them were very good. All of them almost had 20 homers. The only one who didn't was Albies, but Albies isn't a home run guy. Albies is the type of player who gets you a 300 average with stolen bases. So I'm sure Atlanta is more than okay with missing out on that. Now the pitching staff played well, even though their ace Soroka didn't even see the field. Charlie Morton's return to Atlanta could not have gone much better, while Max Fried also played well. Huascar Ynoa looked great until he broke his hand in frustration after punching a bench. Tyler Matzik was the team's best reliever this year, and he came up clutch in Game 6 of the NLCS against LA, as he would strike out Albert Pujols, Steven Sosa Jr., and Mookie Betts in order to clinch a very crucial game. Atlanta looks to not only do well next year, but improve. While Freeman is a pending free agent, their other stars are coming back, and who wouldn't want to join the defending World Series champs, especially the World Series champs that won it all without their best two players, Acuna and Soroka, and without another top two players in Ozuna and Morton. Although Morton did play in the World Series, he got hurt, as you all know. Atlanta, the future is definitely bright, and it terrifies me as a Phillies fan. Speaking of, the Phillies would go 82-80 this year. Hey, you finally got above 500, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I really didn't rate much for Philadelphia here because I already know what I want to say. The streak of missing the playoffs is now 10 years. Fortunately for us, Seattle also missed out on playing October baseball, so Philly isn't the longest active drought in baseball. However, this is a disappointing season, all said and done. Offensively, Bryce Harper had an elite season, easily his best as a member of the Phillies. He is the frontrunner for the NL MVP award for a reason, after all, and I really hope he gets it. He had a great year. All those haters that called him the most overrated player in baseball, I want to know where you are now. That's all I have to say. Now, Rhys Hoskins, he played well when he was healthy. Gene Segura provided solid contact and decent speed. And honestly, Ronald Torreyes had some clutch moments as well. JT Realmuto was one of the better catchers in the league, as you could expect, but he dealt with nagging injuries that hurt him towards the end of the season. But that's all the positives I can say about this offense. Alec Bohm played so poorly that he got himself demoted. Didi Gregorius was so bad in offense that it just completely failed to make up for his shortcomings on defense. Andrew McCutchen hit some homers, but that's pretty much it. The center field position was a literal black hole. Things got so bad that they had to recall Abdul Herrera this year. That's just concerning. All the other center fielders that they had, I'm not even going to list them all off, but Travis Janikowski was the only one that even had a somewhat respectable season. So it's very confusing. Adam Hazley didn't do that well when he played. Mickey Moniak, waste of a first overall pick. Roman Quinn hit below the Mendoza before tearing his Achilles for the umpteenth time. It's concerning. It's very concerning. Now, on the pitching side, Zach Wheeler was the Cy Young favorite until he cooled off a bit as the season neared its end. But he is still a finalist for the award, as he did play amazingly, all said and done. Aaron Nola had his moments, but he failed to show that he is worthy of being called an ace. Zach Eflin dealt with some injuries that ended his year early and will affect his 2022 season as well. At least Kyle Gibson provided some stability for the last couple months of the year. In the bullpen, Hector Neris started off the season ice cold, and while he rebounded, the team felt the need to trade for Ian Kennedy. That was a rocky road. At least Ranger Suarez stepped up at many key moments in both the bullpen and the starting rotation. This offseason is going to be crucial for Philadelphia. They have to do something now, or they're going to be regretting it, because there's no doubt in my mind Seattle is going to make a run in 2022. So next, we have the New York Mets, who finished at 77 and 85. Entering the 2021 campaign, the Mets and their fans had high hopes. For the first time in a while, the team had an owner who was willing to spend money on free agents and make trades. They did trade for Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco, and they locked up Lindor long term. The results? Well, it could have been worse. I'll say it here. For all the garbage that I constantly give Pete Alonso, I'll constantly overlook him. I'll constantly say he's not doing that good. He played well. He consistently performs. He had another strong season as he hit above 250. I think he actually hit above 260 as well, with 37 homers. And midseason acquisition Javier Baez, he played respectably. He hit just below 300. Although his antics on the base paths, putting his thumbs down at fans, cost him some points. James McCann is the last hitter worth praising on this team, and his defense is among the best at the position as well. Now, Francisco Lindor started off the season horribly, and although he was dealing with an injury, it is concerning, especially since he's locked up through 2031. Now, Jeff McNeil and Michael Conforto underwhelmed consistently, and Dominic Smith was pushed into a reserve role at times as well due to his poor play. Now, ace Jacob deGrom, who was the Cy Young favorite, dealt with forearm tightness in July, which ended his season early. It's a shame. He was actually a potential NL MVP as well, which it's extremely tough for that to happen with a pitcher, as you all know. So, other than deGrom, Marcus Stroman did what Marcus Stroman does. He played well, but he wasn't a Cy Young contender. Rich Hill had a surprisingly strong season. Taijuan Walker pitched poorly, unfortunately, as did Carlos Carrasco, although Carrasco did only appear in 12 games due to a setback and an injury. Never good. Noah Syndergaard played in a pair of games this year. That's it. He didn't play all that well, but he is a pending free agent, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Now, the bullpen, Edwin Diaz and the rest of them had their moments. They were good, but they were bad. So we all know what happened when Edwin Diaz, he allowed a game-winning homer against the Phillies, and he pointed up in the air, signaling he thought it was a pop-up. So now Aaron Lope really stood up for the team as he ended the year with an ERA below 1. Now this team does have some serious questions they have to answer, Javier Baez and Francisco Lindor in particular. And they will enter the 2022 season with a new manager and a new general manager, as their GM was fired after being arrested driving under the influence. Not a good year for the Mets. Let's see if Stephen Cohen is willing to spend money on free agents for a second year in a row. Fourth place, we had the Miami Marlins, who would go 67 and 95. The Marlins regressed in 2021, but honestly, I'm not surprised. I knew they were going to regress. They had a lot go right in 2020, and they always seemed to play their NL East rivals well. They always beat up on the Phillies for whatever reason. They always beat up on the Mets for whatever reason. So when you put them in a division where they're only basically playing NL East teams, they're gonna play well against those NL East teams. So, yeah. Now, another problem struck with the Marlins this year. Injuries. Sixto Sanchez missed the entire year with a tear in his shoulder. Pablo Lopez, who stepped up as the ace, would miss half of the season with a rotator cuff strain. Jesus Aguilar missed the end of the year with a knee issue. John Berti missed half the year with a head issue after he got hit in the head by a pitch. The list goes on and on with these injuries. Offensively, Jesus Aguilar was the team's best hitter. Jazz Chisholm looked good when he was healthy, but he also dealt with injuries through the season. Starling Marte was amazing this year, and he would have been the team's best hitter had he not been traded away for Jesus Luzardo. Speaking of Luzardo, he didn't play that well this year in Miami, unfortunately. Sandy Alcantara was the team's best pitcher, all said and done when you look past the injuries, and he looked great. Now, Trevor Rogers was one of the best rookies of the year, and he's a potential rookie of the year. So, there's that. Dylan Floro worked his way into the Marlins closing role as well, but that's pretty much all you can say about the Marlins. The Marlins do have some serious flaws to address, but at least they didn't finish in last place. Speaking of, let's talk about the Washington Nationals, who went 65-97. Honestly, it's surprising how quickly this team collapsed. They fell apart faster than the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles. This was a collapse of Boston Red Sox proportions. The only difference, though, is that Washington was expecting to compete in 2020 and 2021 until the 2021 trade deadline when they completely went through a fire sale. And I'm not taking a shot at the Red Sox, but you know how they are with the World Series. They win in 2018, and then they, rebuild in 2020, and here they are competing again. So, let's be real. This is Juan Soto's team. Soto was the best player that ended the year in Washington, all said and done. And he dealt with some injuries early in the year as well. He looked amazing, and he's an MVP contender for a reason. His high batting average, top speed, and solid power will keep him in discussions as one of the league's best players for years to come. His second half was nothing short of dominant. After Soto, the team's next best two offensive players were Trey Turner, who was traded at the deadline, and Alcides Escobar, who signed with the team in early July. Not a good combination there. Kyle Schwarber was another great player, as he had that amazing stretch with power, but he was also traded at the deadline, and he was a bit streaky outside of that one stretch in, I believe it was June. Victor Robles disappointed for the second year in a row, as he barely managed to hit above the Mendoza line, and with a contact batter like that, it isn't good. Josh Bell had his moments too, but he underwhelmed, all things considered. Max Scherzer was this team's best pitcher, but he was included in the deal at the deadline with Trey Turner that sent both of them to the Dodgers. Patrick Corbin was another disappointment, all things considered. He looked bad at the start of the year. He was abysmal at the start of the year. He did kind of get it together towards August, but it was too late at that point. Brad Hand, that could be a story in and of itself. He was so bad that he was traded for literally next to nothing. So, yeah. Now, outside of Soto, this team was just a massive disappointment. Now, how did I have this season going for this division? I had Atlanta winning this division and being the 2 seed in the NL. Pretty close to that. I had New York getting the 5 seed in the NL with a solid year. I had Philadelphia as the first team out of the playoffs, at least in the NL East. And then I had Washington as the 4 seed, Miami as the 5 seed. Now, I was expecting to get some hate for having Miami as the 5 seed, and I even said that during the video, but I don't think anyone's really surprised. Miami is such a weird team. They're super streaky at times, but that's how they are. The Nationals, like I said, I'm surprised they collapsed this hard. It's kind of sad. It isn't, but it is. The Mets, this team just had a rough season, all things considered. It's kind of confusing to see what happened, but a lot of their guys just struggled to improve on, what they could do. They struggled to do what they should do. The Phillies, massive disappointment, guys. I'm happy that you finally finished above 500 for the first time since 2011, but you literally had a potential Cy Young winner and a potential MVP, and you barely finished above 500, and you missed the playoffs. So, lastly, Atlanta, I got to give you guys credit. You managed to win the World Series for the first time since 1995, so congratulations to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was the NL East recap. Have a good rest of your day.